Okay, good evening. My name is Joey Smith. I am the chair of the Recreation and Parks Commission. Welcome to our February 7th, 2024 meeting. We are coming to order at 6 p.m. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We adopted a land acknowledgement a few years ago. It's made a few adjustments and have grown as our information and understanding has come along, and this is the version we say now. We humbly acknowledge that we sit within the unceded traditional ancestral homelands of the Chochenyo and Ohlone people who have occupied and cared for this land since a distant time prior to the founding of the city of Richmond, prior to California statehood, and for centuries before the establishment of the United States. As the Recreation and Parks Commission, we strive to steward the land in a way that honors its past, current, and future inhabitants and takes seriously the responsibility of its continued care. The mission of this commission is to advise the City Council and city staff to provide excellent parks and recreation facilities, to preserve open space, and to provide programs that enrich, educate, and serve the needs of the diversity of the residents in Richmond. Okay, so, Madam Secretary, would you do the roll call?
Joey Smith,
Present.
Aaron Rowden,
Present.
Allison Blakely, present. Marion Hurlbut is absent. Catalin Kaiser,
Present.
Danny Lunis is absent. Samantha Torres,
Present.
Okay, sounds like we have a quorum. Thank you very much. Okay, so this is a welcome to any and all who are participating with us today. And after the chair recognizes any speakers for the audience, you'll have 2 minutes to speak. Before going through this, do we have any comments that have come through via email?
Good evening.
Okay.
iTech, sorry. Good evening, Madam Chair and Commission members. We do have a comment from Cordell Hindler, and he wanted to convey to the Commission. For the record, the Rec and Parks Commission is invited to the Richmond Rotary Club meeting on February 16th at 12:30 p.m. at the Richmond Country Club. It's $25 for the lunch. Joe Sanger will present the Make-A-Wish Foundation. The next item is Richmond Sanitary Club, Crab Feed, March 16, 2024, Salesian College Prep High School at 7 p.m., and the cost is $70 per person. Sincerely, Cordell.
Could you repeat the name of the club, the second part?
For the crab feed, or the first one?
Whatever was at Salesian?
Oh, so it just says Richmond Rotary Club Crab Feed, March 16th at Salesian College Prep High.
Thank you.
That's all we have for public comment.
That is correct, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much. All right, so everyone, I hope that you've had an opportunity to take a look at the agenda. If there's anything that needs to be added or altered, please speak up. Okay. All right, in the absence of any hands or voices, is there anyone in opposition to approving the agenda? Okay,
I make a
no.
motion to approve the agenda.
Okay. Is there a second?
I second that motion.
Okay, thank you. All in favor, please indicate by stating aye.
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 Any opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it. Okay. So, no speakers at this point, so, okay. Yep, our next Recreation and Parks Commission meeting will be on March 6th, 2024. We currently have $413.08 in the commission trust account, and currently there's no membership changes. Okay, so on to the meeting minutes from January 10. Any comments, concerns?
I move that we approve the minutes as submitted.
Okay, is there a second?
I second it.
All right, it's been moved and properly second. Any further discussion? Okay, seeing no hands, hearing no voices. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions?
Abstain.
All right, so noted. The ayes have it. Thank you. Hmm. Good timing. Let's let you catch your breath. Let's say, Madam Maharaj, do you mind going first?
Sure, I have no problem.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening again, Madam Chair and members of the Commission. I would like to present information regarding from the Recreation Division. We are getting ready for the President's Week Camp, starting on February 20th through the 23rd. It will be held at the Richmond Recreation Complex, and we are taking on registrations now. Next slide, please. Middle School Boys and Girls Soccer League will be starting very soon. Registrations closes on February 15th, and I don't know if there are registrations. I believe they already have. Next slide, please. Richmond Youth Outdoor Spring and Summer High School students. What is this? Hold on one second. It's a cohort. I knew that was the word, but I couldn't see it. I apologize for that. This is funded through a grant, and Janae and Tate and Stephanie have been working really hard on this particular program, and they have hired an intern to help them make this happen, and they are providing opportunities to the middle and high school students on from March 16th through May 4th. Next slide, please. For the first year, we are going to have floating egg hunt. This is something that I had spoken to Paula about. I believe it was 2 years in a row. It's finally happening, and I'm really, really excited. I hope you guys come and check it out on Saturday, March 16th. And we will have our regular spring egg hunt at Nickel Park on March 23rd. Next slide, please. Love Your Block mini grant applications are now available, and it is available on our website on February 23rd. And if you have questions regarding this, please reach out to Stephanie. I'm sorry I couldn't bring Stephanie in today because she's out sick. And then I don't know if you guys have already RSVP'd. Chinese New Year is this Saturday, and it's from 1 to 3 at the Richmond Auditorium. And there will be some light refreshments and some entertainment by the Richmond Senior Center participants. And then week after next, we will, is it week after next? No, it's on the 24th. We have the Black History Program. And there again, entertainment will be provided by the Senior Center participants. The time is again from 1 to 3 with light refreshments. Next slide, please.
So what, before you go, I don't see, oh, okay, so you call the senior center for the
Yes.
RSVP.
Yes.
All right.
There are
Got
two numbers you can call on. You could call at the Richmond Senior Center, or you can call at the registration office, and they will take your name and add it to the list.
For both events, you need a call ahead.
Yes, you have
Okay.
to do it now, because they will cap off the number of people they want on the list, because that's how they will budget or purchase the food items.
Got it, thank you.
And then Boorman Park closure is happening on, well, it happened on February 1st through December 30th. This has to do with maintenance that we've been trying to work on. Greg's not here, so he could have spoken on that a little bit more. I know Janae from our office has been working on this with Public Works. And we are hiring for summer. We are already in the process, and we hope to have enough staff on board and so that we can start all our programs on time. And coming soon, we are working on actually the spring and summer activity guide. We are combining the two guides. This particular guide will be mailed out to our community, and it is going to combine two seasonal guides. And that's the end of my presentation. Any questions for me?
Well, definitely welcome back.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Did you have something, Commissioner Torres?
I just had a question about the mailing out guide. Will that be available in English and Spanish? Is that normally translated?
Yes, all our guides have been produced English and Spanish for a very long time. Yeah.
Oh. Okay, I guess that will do for now. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So you feeling okay, Mr. Hallaby? Caught your breath?
Yes, thank you.
All right, very good.
Good evening, Chair, members of the Commission. My name is Tawfiq Halabi. I'm the Deputy Director of Public Works, filling in this evening. If I can move this over. So activities over the course of the last month, we've had some breaks in the weather. As you know, we've had a lot of stormy weather. We've had several trees were downed recently in the atmospheric river that came through last weekend. Some of the regular activities, senior center work, Belding Garcia Park, and Santa Rita. Okay, there was a storm drain that was being blocked over at Santa Rita, site of a landslide. So we wanted to make sure that we clean the debris. Next slide, please. Marina Way South tree trimming. I'm happy to see that. Could be the location that I put in back in 2018 or 2019 in anticipation of the Richmond Wellness Trail when we were in the planning phases. We hadn't even hired a designer. So eventually we get around to doing our work. Hilltop District, several photos. We have weed abatement, shrub pruning, at various locations within the district. Next slide, please. Marina District, several activities going on. So leaf, rose clipping. Yeah, no, these are normal activities that we have in the Marina District. A lot of labor. It seems like there's a lot of laborious type work that we have to do. Is this the final slide? Yes. I did have a comment. I guess maybe if I can follow up on Borman Park. So we have two things going on at Borman Park. We have a park restoration project, park improvement project, and we have contaminated soils. So the park improvements would sequentially come after the addressing of the contaminated soils. The park improvements are funded, the contaminated soil is not funded. So we have a fence around the park, and we're working, the capital projects group is working on securing funding to address the contaminated soils. That's a light industry area, so it's not surprising that there's contamination. So it'll be
It's
a
also
while.
right next to a train track, so there's no telling. Yeah.
So that's what's going on at Borman.
Can you, so it's fenced in anticipation of finding funding to do the contaminated soil remediation?
Yeah, I don't have all the facts because I'm not directly working on it, but
Okay.
I think we were ordered to fence it off.
Do we know have any leads on how we would get that funded to get that cleaned up?
Yes, the capital folks had some potential funding, and we're working on securing it, allocating it for the work. They probably have to work with the granting agency and then kind of figure out a plan and planning and designing and construction. So it's in progress as far as I know.
Thank you.
Well, and although it's sad that we had to take this sidestep, this detour, I'm glad that it was found and that we're working towards making it a safe park again. So, any other questions about Borman? No? Okay. Anything else you want to offer about Borman? No? Okay.
No.
I did not include you in the email, and I probably should have. I didn't want to be overly heavy-handed, but I noticed that on last Saturday, not long after our park tours, that Stewart Playground Park, the sprinklers were on.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It was very, very soggy and spongy, and walking through there, if you did not have on boots, you should not have been walking through there, along with the fact that where the play structure is, it was flooded. Well, about 2 hours after we had finished our tour, I just happened to live in the area. I drove by, and the sprinklers were on full force. It had just been raining. Just had that what was it? I think that was the first leg of that atmospheric river. And I'm like, why? Why? I mean, to your knowledge, is the irrigation for that and possibly any other park manually set, or is this something that can be adjusted remotely? I know that there are some systems out there right now that actually will adjust themselves depending upon what's happening with the weather. Now, maybe that's just wishful thinking that we could have that here in less than 5 years, but I kind of, it's something that I pay pretty close attention to because I've been working in the water industry for over 30 years. And when I hear representatives of the city of Richmond making comment about the the rates changing, but I see either leaks or irrigation happening when it's not needed. You can't rightfully just blame an increase in rates for city budget problems if we're not doing our best to be good stewards for the resources. So I sent the video and pictures to Mr. Hardesty and to Madam Maharaj, and back up to Christine, just, for records. I'm not trying to call anybody out. This is something that happens in many, many places, but I live here. And I would love it if the place that I live and the place that I work are in harmony with each other. Maybe that's wishful thinking too. So, any clue as to how the irrigation gets controlled?
Chair Smith, this is the first I've heard of this, and I'm as surprised as you are. I don't have answers for you tonight, but I will find out, and we will provide you with some information. And of course, this triggers the questions, if it's happening here, where else is it happening? So those are some conversations that I would like to have with staff to kind of figure out how can we address this. We don't want to waste water. So thank you for bringing this to my attention.
Absolutely. I mean, I must admit, if you get a chance to see the video, I was a bit frustrated during the course of recording it. But yes, I was polite, but I just it just didn't make very much sense to me, and I figured, okay, I know today's a Saturday, but it's been raining for a while. So that could have been addressed previously. And it's not just the city, though. I've seen in other places where housing developments will let the sprinklers go. And years gone by, Kaiser used to let their sprinklers go, even during the wintertime. So I'm like, people, really? So I'm not coming down hard. I'm not pounding. I'm not blaming. I'm just saying, if we know better, let's try to do better. Or no, correct that. Yoda says there's no try. Do or don't do. There is no try. So let's do better. Thank you so much for your presentation. Okay, so anything new, Samantha, on that one?
Unfortunately, no, but I think we will need to talk about, we had mentioned at the last meeting there were some ideas thrown about, but we just haven't moved on any of that. So hopefully we will get started with some ideas.
Okay, great. And this one, they just wrapped up everything as far as the snowball is concerned. So hopefully we'll be able to get some new traction with Lupe for Youth and Associate Commissioners initiatives. So, although as I understand, we're sharing her with another work group. Yes, no?
Actually, she was still continuing to do a few tasks for us for recreation, but she's all the way 100% under LaShonda. That means the Community Services Department, but that's children and youth programs.
Okay, this still applies, I think.
She's still there, but
Okay.
she does not support, she's not supposed to support recreation with any of our tasks. But I still tap on her skills and talent when I'm stuck.
Okay, all right. Yes,
I'm sorry, I had a question for Mr. Hullaby, and
Oh, I'm
I missed the
sorry.
opportunity.
Go
I'm
f-
moving a little slow tonight.
go with it, Commissioner Kaiser.
City Councilwoman Robinson is our liaison, and I talked to her after our last meeting, and we were talking about how many capital improvement projects are are on the docket. And, continuing to be frustrated by looking at the list of the 10-year-old parks plan and we see what's done and not knowing what is in the works. Is it possible to get a list of the projects that are in what stage they're at and who's in charge of them? Is that something that could be provided to the commission?
Commissioner Kaiser, your inquiry is very timely. Just today, I sat in on a meeting where the city engineer was demonstrating to staff members the capital project dashboard.
Good.
Okay, so it's not up and running to the public, but some of the features that were shown included. It's hard to describe because it's graphic, but I'm going to try to put it into words. There is one area where you can look and see that there are a total of, say, 78 projects. And there's a chart that shows you how many of the 78 projects are park improvement projects, right? And you can click on the park improvement projects and it'll list all the park improvement projects. And one by one, you can go through and see the name of the project, the location, the description, scope of work, the funding level, who's the project manager, and then something about the status.
Okay.
What phase is it in? Is it in the design phase? Is it in the planning phase? Is it in the construction phase? And what percentage is it complete? Is it 10% complete, 50% complete? So that's
Fantastic.
has been developed.
Okay.
I saw that demonstration today. I personally am not involved in capital projects.
Yeah.
I'm over in operations and
Yeah.
maintenance, but I have a long history with capital projects when
Yeah.
I was in the engineering division.
How can we get access to that information?
It's not public. They're still working out some bugs. But you're welcome to, since you're a body of the city, I think, you can send me an email and I'll forward it to the city engineer. Or if you're acquainted with the city engineer, you can email them directly and ask that question.
So I can go ahead and make that happen.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, Toby.
Next slide, please. Okay. So annually, we do election of officers for this commission. And the chair for the election committee is not present, but as I understand it, Commissioner Torres has all the information for the process of the election.
Yes, so Marin and I did meet shortly after our last commission meeting to go over basically showing me the process of beginning nominations. It appears that after our announcement in January, there's only one submission for nominations for a board that I wanted to share. I'm not sure if that has been given to anybody. Should I announce what the nominations were? Okay, let me pull up that form. Okay, so there was one set of nominations for chair, Joey Smith, for vice chair, Allison Blakely, for secretary, Samantha Torres, and for treasurer, Marin Hurlbut. So this was that was the only nomination. Otherwise, if I recall procedure correctly, we are able to make nominations at this moment, is that correct?
We are. Has it been confirmed that everyone accepted their nomination?
That was Marin, and Did everybody confirm? I didn't reach out to people individually, so I'm not sure. I
Okay.
didn't do that part of it.
I just want to make sure that everyone who had a nomination would either say yes or no. And as I understand it, well, I didn't know if it was an official, everyone had said yes, so.
I think so. I cannot confirm because I didn't, that was not part of
Okay, well, let's put it this way. Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean,
it's
that's what
like
I'm saying, is I'm
Maren
assuming
said
so.
yes,
Yes.
you said
Yes.
yes. Okay,
Okay.
Commissioner Blakely said yes, and I will accept. So, okay, there we go.
Okay.
Okay, well, there's that. Are there any other nominations? Second call. Are there any other nominations for any of the officer seats for the Richmond Recreation and Parks Commission? Are there any other nominations? Third and final time. Seeing no hands, hearing no voices, I'll take that as there are no more. Next step. Are you making a motion that we receive the list of slate?
Yes, I make a motion for the board to vote on the nominations as previously stated for board positions.
Okay, thank you.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you. It's been moved and properly second. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Okay, the ayes have it. And I will make the announcement to everyone who's not here that everything has gone through. So thank you very much for the faith in me, and I have faith in each of you. So thank you as well. I'm not disappointed because I know you two are very, very busy. So I get it. All right. So we have before us the Richmond Parks Master Plan Checklist update in the back here. So does anyone have any questions specifically from here?
Are there any updates since last week, or are they just typed out? I'm sorry?
You mean from last month?
I'm sorry, last month, correct. Yes, yes, yes.
Christine, I didn't hear, did you answer?
I didn't answer because it's Greg, so it just comes from
Oh,
Greg.
that just came directly from Greg.
It comes from
Oh,
Greg,
okay, so we
I
don't know.
Yeah, it's not mine, it's his, so he sends to me, and so that's
Thank
what
you.
I added. It looked prettier, but I'm not sure if there's any updates.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
Sure.
Okay, so it looks like we're probably going to need dates on here so that we're clear when the work was completed, and just, because I don't know about you all, I don't have a photographic memory. I can look at this and think that this is what is new, but it could be the same thing that we got last month. So I think that it would be reasonable for us to make that request. Please put some dates in there, preferably accurate. Not that he would fudge, of course not. But we just want to make sure that when we are reviewing whatever it is we're reviewing, and we're making recommendations to the city council, that we've got the best information to work with. That make sense? Okay.
have a question.
Yes.
On an, I don't know if there's an average or a normal, but how often do tennis courts have to be resurfaced in general?
I would imagine that it's similar to streets. The more it gets used, depending upon if when they were installed, that they were properly tamped and everything was nice and solid beneath. Depends upon how much the earth moves around. So there's a lot of things that can go into that, but I'm just saying that from a general 3,000 foot high experience as far as doing construction. So we probably should ask the subject matter experts over there. Would that be in your wheelhouse, or would that be with Mr. Hardesty?
Well, Greg certainly has a lot more experience with parks maintenance than I do, but I can say there probably is an industry standard where there's a recommended life cycle. Say you resurface and it lasts 10 years or 15 years or 20 years. That being said, the city may or may not have a funding strategy to keep up with that life cycle. That would require funding and planning, having monies allocated on a regular basis. That's not being done. So we're probably falling short of keeping up with that, the resurfacing needs.
Well, that's what I was kind of thinking of when I look at this list and it says tennis court resurfacing done. We don't know when that was done or how it's holding up.
Yeah, like Humboldt's, it actually says do again. So we know that there is some attention being paid to the repeated nature of resurfacing. So that's just something we need to request from Greg, is that his word done here, we need to know when. Yeah. And I'd be curious, because it says on when Wendell, another question is for him, because Wendell, it just says major renovation was needed at the time that this master plan came out, and there, it has actually been, there's sort of a pretty big renovation since that, which is all that playground and the foosball, which used to just be a big pile of sand. So that isn't updated on here, so that needs to be updated. It still seems like Wendell could still use a major renovation, but there has been some renovation since that time, so.
Could, I guess, I don't know if this is I don't know how it's going to come out of a question or statement, but I think just because on my mind I have like the idea of the different kinds of partnerships, MOUs, adopt the spots, thinking about all of that and thinking about how, I'm guessing MOUs do delineate what the expectations are for maintenance. Like, for example, Richmond Tennis Association is responsible for all the courts, some of the tennis courts, I don't know exactly, but is there an outline or an expectation of what's supposed to be provided as per the MOU? Or how often it's supposed to be done, or like, I'm not sure.
The maintenance piece falls under Greg, so I'm not sure what kind of arrangement or agreements he has with them. I mean, Public Works has with them.
Commenting a little bit on what you suggested is that there has to be a budget and then you can figure out what you can do. I think that can be quite limiting. If we know what it is that we need, it's kind of like you want to monitor this or that and manage it properly. Well, if you don't know where we are right now and what we're going to need, then it's kind of hard to budget for that type of thing. So if we do have, as you say, the industry standards as sort of a guideline or an outline for these particular surfaces or equipment and the like, and we are able to compare the use, the wear and tear, the all that of these facilities, then we'll have a better idea of, okay, because of our volume of use, instead of it being 10 years, it needs to be 7 or something like that. And at least our number crunchers will understand that it's not necessarily dependable to go strictly by the industry standard. And if we expect to keep our insurance low, to make sure that it's welcoming and usable for our residents and our visitors, then we can stay on top of things a little bit better. And yes, we will have to choose which priorities we're going to make. But just saying, okay, we have money, what are we going to do with it? I really don't know if that's going to be the best service for our facilities and our residents. I know it doesn't work that way with other organizations that I'm part of. It's like, this is what we need, let's work towards getting the funds. So just a suggestion.
Chair Smith, what you're talking about is having an inventory and an asset management system, condition assessments, and then resulting projections of the budget needs. So we have some of those in the city. We have the wastewater enterprise fund, for example, where they set the wastewater rates based on what the needs are. So that is a fund. So if you live in the central part of Richmond, on your parcel tax, you pay money to the city of Richmond for the sewers. And what the planners and engineers do is they look at the sewer system and they project, what do we need to do in the next 5 to 10 years? You know, we have old pipelines that need to be replaced. We have pump stations that need to be upgraded. We have wastewater treatment facilities that need to be installed, and they can set the rates. There's a legal mechanism to set the sewer rates for all the parcel owners to raise the money. So that's called an enterprise fund. We have another example in the city that's not an enterprise fund. The pavement, the roadways, the asphalt. We have a pavement management system. It's fresh in my mind because I was here last night before City Council talking about the city's pavement management system. So we have an inventory, we have an asset management system, we collect data on the condition of the roadways every 2 years, and we do projections. What is the roadway, what is the condition now? What is it going to look like in 5 years? What is it going to look like in 10 years? And then we use that information to do budgeting. So that's basically an asset management principle. To my knowledge, we haven't done that. The city, the legacy that we have now is that the city doesn't have an asset management system for the park facilities, the parks. Good or bad, it's just data. So what you're talking about is having a grasp of all of the needs, all the conditions, how long are they going to last? What do we need a year from now? What do we need 2 years from now, 3, 4, 5 years from now? Once you know how much you need, then the challenge becomes, how do you fund it? If you're an enterprise fund, you set the rates, and by law you could collect the money. If you're not an enterprise fund like the pavement, we can't go to every single person in Richmond and force them to pay more money so that we can pave the streets. We can't do that. So that's the challenge that would be before us as we think about the condition of our parks, what needs to be improved, and so on and so forth.
Yes, I understand, and thank you for clarifying that. You mentioned the roads. I know that this is not something directly for our commission, but I came home one day and saw that someone, and I'm sure they had all the best of intentions, someone poured pea gravel in the potholes and where the sewers connected to the main. So I'm thinking, okay, I know this could not have been from the city because pea gravel is expensive to use for this purpose. And this is going to be a mess. On the very next street sweeping, it's going to be getting up in there because with the rain, everything's almost, and it's spread all over the street right now. I'm sharing this because apparently some of our residents are figuring, well, either maybe let's try to help the city out and help ourselves in the process, or maybe they're thinking, well, if they're not going to do anything, we're going to do something. Things like that happen, and I was just thinking, okay, you know what? Maybe I should go get some cutback, some perma patch or something to show folks what can actually be used. But I don't want to step on anybody's toes as far as the city is concerned. You know, if I had access to the funds, the equipment, the staff to repave our street, I would go into agreement with the city and own it. You know, to do what is kind of like what is it, adopt a spot? You know, yeah, right. That. But I do know that there's a lot of utility work that happens underground, and I guess the question is, are the utilities working in conjunction with the planning commission and all that? So be that here or there, there's a lot of folk who may not come to the city council or who may not come to commissions, but they think they're trying to do a good thing out there, and sometimes it just is not the right thing to do. So I'm putting this on your radar because if you get a situation where equipment is damaged or whatever because it's picking up stuff that it's not supposed to pick up or whatever, it's because folks are, I don't want to say they're getting desperate, but it must have been something that would move someone to put the first thing that they had available into the potholes in the street, thinking that it would work well. Just saying. Yes.
So I just want to say, I think it speaks well to our residents' gumption and civic mindedness that they want to take action to fix a problem. And I would really hope that that same impetus will drive them to become involved in a more organized way. And, you know, I think that that sort of citizen activism is certainly welcome. And not that they should be filling potholes with gravel, but rather that, you know, becoming educated in more long-term solutions would be a fantastic use of that energy. And I want to say, I just see that as, even though the specifics of it may not be positive, the impetus certainly is. And I think it speaks well to our residents that they want to be part of a solution.
I agree. I very much agree. It's just, let's get them educated. Commissioner Torres.
Just a quick comment that, you know, the recent rains, I think a lot of people are quick to always jump to say, oh, Richmond doesn't fill the potholes. Like, okay, it's rained everywhere in the Bay. I was driving through Berkeley the other day and it was bad. So you know, I just want to highlight that it's going to take time for governments, maintenance workers to catch up to all of the work. And, you know, we're not the only ones struggling with that. And then lastly, about the self-motivated citizens filling in potholes. I won't go into too much detail except to say that if you look up on social media, there have been posts lately about 18 and older graffiti being done on the potholes to draw attention to the potholes. So there are some maybe more, they're not going to damage equipment, but there are some creative ways to bring attention to these issues that I'm not endorsing in any way. I'm just saying there are unique ways to get involved, and we have vacancies on the commission that if y'all want to come and use that useful energy, the creative energy in other ways, we welcome it here.
I just say, I think it goes to show that for all of the sort of commentary about citizen apathy and, a disconnect from community, that's not necessarily the case. People want good things and they will take action for them. We just need to help them direct that in a positive way.
Absolutely. Councilmember Robinson, you have a report for us?
Had a late night last night. So yeah, just picking up on the conversation about potholes and street improvements. So we had a great report, just to follow through on this topic so we can share some information that we learned last night from Public Works and a consultant on what it would take to improve the pavement index, the quality of our pavements in the city. So currently we spend about $4 million a year on pavement repairs and street improvements and things like that. And we're at a 61 pavement index, is that right? 61 out of 100. And it's considered fair, kind of like a C. And we're right in the middle of Bay Area cities. So if you look at a graph of all the Bay Area cities, we're literally in the middle of all the cities. There's some cities that are below us. There's some cities that are above us. We're really literally right in the middle. That doesn't mean that we have a great pavement index. Just means that everyone's not doing so well. So the whole question was, what do we need to do to improve that? And the long story short is the suggestion is that we need to increase the amount of money we spend on pavement to $15 million a year in order to just maintain the 61 pavement index over a 10-year period. Because every year, the roads are constantly getting worse, and we only have so much ability to keep up with them. So even if we stayed at the $4 million a year, our pavement index over 10 years would decrease to 43, 40.
High 40s.
Yeah, high 40s.
Mid to high 40s.
But if we increase to 15 million, taking that 15 million, putting it towards payments, we would stay at 61. And so we're basically asked, the city council wants to move on it, of course. We don't want our pavement to get even worse. But it's kind of a bummer to hear that if we give nearly, 4 times the amount of money from the general fund or other sources to pavement, we would only stay at the same rate as we are today. That's a little bit of a bummer. So we asked for some more information about what percentage that are we currently spending of that $4 million that's coming from federal, state, and local grant sources, and how much is coming from the general fund, so we can better understand how much we would need to be losing from other programs and services if we were going to put more money into this from the general fund. And then also we asked about opportunities are there other kind of funding opportunities that we're not currently going for that'll help us increase that number. We also talked about synergies. So one of the things that I think this council has been really interested in is all the amazing plans that we have, like the Parks Master Plan, that we don't always seem to be opening them and looking at them and looking for opportunities to enact the things that are in those plans. And so we actually asked that if we're going to, this issue is going to come back, and we're most likely going to allocate a lot more money to streets. But are there opportunities in that where we can kind of stack functions and look for ways to do traffic calming, look for ways to incorporate arts, look for ways to incorporate things that are outlined in the greening plan, urban greening plan, the urban streets, kind of urban forest, bike and ped plan. While we identify the streets that we're working on, we can also do these other things at the same time and kind of stack functions. So our money goes as far as it possibly can. And then with that, the consultants talked about ways that we can, save money, but also use resources better, like using companies that will actually do on-site recycling of asphalt. Instead of using new asphalt, they use the asphalt that they break up, and on site, while they're fixing the street, kind of recycle that and reuse it in situ, like right there, rather than having to dump materials and then whatever. So all these things are going to come into a recommendation, and probably for midterm budget, there's going to be a different, hopefully a suggestion and a positive vote for a different allocation of funds so that we can do more work. We also gave approval for them to use this the system for prioritizing which streets get worked on. And, it's an interesting kind of information that, it is a great analogy around like a car, you can buy a brand new car, and if you take that brand new car and just drive it into the ground, you have to buy a new car, another new car, in maybe, 3 to 5 years, because you just drove, you never got an oil change, you never did any of the service, you never did the cheap things that would make it last 10, 20 years, And so the suggestion is that we need a system that helps us not just fix the worst roads, because that's the roads we drove into the ground. We do need to fix those, and we need to have a policy where we allocate a certain percentage of funds that go to the worst roads. But if we don't do regular maintenance on the roads that aren't so bad, they will quickly become the worst roads. And instead of having a much less expensive regular maintenance. So we actually need to kind of have a policy that allocates a majority of funds to that kind of low-cost regular maintenance that are going to make our streets last longer, and then have another allocation that goes to the worst roads. And they, showed the difference in price between, like it's literally double, triple the amount for the worst roads, and, a fraction of the cost for the not so worst roads. And so there's questions of equity and whatnot, but that's like the full story on the pavement. And, we do have a team that works on pavement, and I think we're one of the few cities that have our own internal pavement team, right?
We have a paving crew.
Yeah, paving crew.
In the Public Works department. Yeah, that's unusual. Many cities have some paving capabilities, but we have, over the last 17 years, really kind of gone all in to have a paving crew.
So it's a great presentation that I encourage everyone to, if you're really wanting to know what's going on with the streets and what work is trying to be done and how we're trying to address it and what the issue looks like, what the challenges are, that presentation lays it out really, really well. It's available online in the agenda report. So there's that. And then...
So what's it called again? What's the title?
What's the title, Tavik? Paving Index?
Update on the pavement management program, or paving program update.
I can look it up.
It's
and-
X10.
Yeah, or a date or something on there, so.
So
Yesterday.
it was yesterday.
Yesterday.
So it's
February
the
6th.
2/6 agenda. It was
X10.
under new business. One of the last items was P2 or P1. Yeah, something like that.
Why,
Great.
it was Y3?
Why? Sorry.
Y3.
Why?
I think
Oh
it's
my.
Y3.
Okay, way down the alphabet. Commissioner Kaiser.
Sorry, I wanted to ask two questions about that. I wasn't able to make it to the city council meeting, and I will go look at that report. But two things come to my mind. One is whether there's conversation about how to actually reduce the wear and tear on our roads.
Yeah.
Was that addressed?
We
at all?
did talk about things that increase the wear and tear on the roads, like heavy trucks, like increased activity of warehouses and the increased decreased number of distribution centers and kind of semi trucks on especially the arterial roads and other roads. And so there is talk and investigation by city staff. They're taking the initiative to look into impact fees for new developments for certain industries, and looking into when we're in the process right now of having an RFP for our solid waste solid waste collection contract. So those are the big trucks, the garbage trucks on the streets, and including in that an increase in fees because of the impact of those trucks on the roads and the impact that that makes. And they also talked about utilities and how, you know, the staff will look for opportunities to work with utilities when they're opening the road to, if that road also needs to be repaved at that time, to share costs on that, so the utility will pay into some of the cost of repaving, and then they can take the opportunity to repave or repair the road and share the costs on it. So it was like a lot of, it was kind of a long, deep conversation about roads, and it went in many, many directions and gave a lot of direction to staff, and staff had already been working on different things to try to figure out how to properly assess all of the impacts, all the sources of impact, and put into place the things that we don't have now, like impact fees.
That's great, thank you. That's it's excellent to know that it's being looked at, those impacts of the distribution centers. So one of my not so secret agendas is safe routes to parks. So I think that we should be getting out of our cars and riding our bikes and walking to our parks and reducing traffic that way. But one of the things that was a conversation actually with Commissioner Lannis about pothole in our neighborhood is that it slows the traffic down. And so actually the potholes make our neighborhood safer. And because people don't, on the intersections where there's a bunch of potholes, the people don't come and do the donuts in those intersections. And so, you know, the intersection of wanting safety and wanting people not to be speeding, but with liking to have smooth streets, and wondering whether that could be thought about in terms of when we're repaving, the traffic calming kind of has to happen at the same time, because a freshly paved street in our neighborhoods invites noise pollution and dangerous driving because they come and spin donuts in those beautiful new intersections. Okay. So I guess I'm just bringing it up. I don't know if it was talked about, and I will look at that report, but I just...
So actually in the direction last night from the motion that went to staff was to, yes, move forward with this new program in order to choose which streets, but to include, whenever we're doing a major fix on a street, traffic calming, the bike ped plan, the urban greening plan, the greening plan, and looking for opportunities to do multiple things at once. And we did have a conversation also, it was a long and deep conversation, that's why I thought it's pretty funny, about intersections and whether or not it would be better to do like stamped concrete in the intersection, because you can make patterns in it. It makes it uncomfortable for people to do donuts. And there was a conversation about that, and you know, the consultants here found that in their experience that it actually didn't really stop donuts. It was a good thought, but it doesn't really function. And you know, we talked about other traffic calming things that you could do at the same time, like just narrowing the streets, putting in more bicycle facilities so they're not, you know, on the streets where they're super wide, but there's still just 2 lanes. You can use the streets in different ways. Talked about planters and traffic circles and things like that that we could plan in when, you know, when these streets are being redone. And actually the direction was to include any major streets in the capital improvement plan and add these new categories, because in the capital improvement plan, we get a list of all the projects they're working on and a little bit of data about each project. And we ask them to include the categories of synergistic planning. And literally list off, how does this address the bike ped plan? How does this project address traffic calming? How does this project address it? And so they'd actually have to write that in, and that would be visible to everybody because that's a published plan. And so if you had an interest in that street, you could see what things they were also including in that build. And then you could have an opportunity to say, hey, well, we were also thinking about XYZ. Is that a possibility for including it? So in the direction last night, it was making those things visible, making it a part of a public document, and making sure that the engineers, when they're considering the designs, that they're considering all these plans.
Commissioner Rowden?
So I know some time ago, it was probably about a year ago, this commission received a fairly comprehensive report about bikeability in Richmond and like where the real problems lie with that. And I think, obviously, like, for instance, the entry onto and off of the Greenway near Carlson is just a nightmare. It was this really nice color-coded map that sort of showed, like, here is this, like, red line that basically divides the city and makes biking as a mode of transportation largely unfeasible unless you're willing to take some significant risks. And I was wondering if that sort of like comprehensive bikeability plan is something that the council has seen as part of this, this streets consideration. And I will say, as somebody who does try, despite some of the structural challenges into doing so, to ride my bike as much as possible, as a street gets worse, I am more likely to drive my car over it than bike over it, which only makes the street worse in the long run.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I'm a cyclist too. I was pretty much very involved with Bike Ped Plan. I was on the Bike Ped committee for a long time, many years ago. So yeah, since I've been a council member, we haven't seen that particular report. I know what you're talking about though. And, our hope is through the direction that we gave last night that, hopefully we didn't have to name every single plan that people should check. But hopefully, the idea is that, as much as possible to the best of their ability when staff is going to redesign a street or to design a street, to improve its, the way it works, that they're considering all of these different things, and that we're working as a part of a plan. I think there's going to be some more work that we need to do because, yes, we can direct staff to use this platform, this application, but, the consultant brought up some things, that we still have more discretion on and that we could give more direction on, like focus on streets around schools. Like that would be a priority, not that we did that, but the suggestion. You focus around, pathways to public transportation. Focus on, in terms of you could kind of put parameters that the program would use to further focus in and prioritize different things. So none of those decisions have been made. I'm just mentioning it because it was a part of the conversation. And we haven't, outside of authorizing that, yes, please use that application, we haven't gone further and we haven't allocated additional funds. So there'll be another moment where it comes to council and we could, if we get input, if we have more thoughts on the issue, we could further direct that work. Hopefully that's helpful. We're trying. It's like, I tell you, just honestly, it was just a serious bummer to hear that you can go from $4 million a year to $15 million and still not make an impact. You can still get the same of what you got. That was like, that doesn't make you excited about spending $15 million.
No, but I don't know if it speaks to the quality of what we would use. I would hope that.
I think it's just the function of how things degrade, how things, kind of get used and break over time, and the current condition of our streets, we also discussed the possibility of a big infusion all at once, and we talked about the max capacity of how many streets you could possibly fix at once. So if we were to do, like, say, a bond, and get, 75 million to put in like an influx, if that would change things. And it would, if we were to do such a thing, if there was political appetite for people to take on yet another bond, that would change this. That would change things. That you would be able to really see a huge difference in the streets. But whether or not the electorate would want to vote for a bond to improve streets is a whole other question.
Yeah, I can understand that, because it seems like the places where the potholes are the worst are not where the property taxes are the highest.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think the bond would be used that way. The way that I understood it from the consultant is that when you do a street-specific bond, it can only go to street improvements. And so, I mean, yeah, so it would have to be used for street repairs. But
Oh, right, no, what I'm
Yeah.
saying is those who don't necessarily have that issue in their particular neighborhood, they may not, why do I have to pay for that?
Oh, yeah, I get what you're saying. And they're often the most people who vote. Yeah.
We
it
got to
was-
work on that.
Yeah, we got to work on that. Yeah, it was an interesting conversation last night. But I do have other things to report. Some good news. And one of the good news, I think, is in not this last council session, but in the session before, on, I think it was the first meeting of the month, or no, the last meeting of, anyway, last
January
month.
23rd?
Yeah,
Because the 30th was canceled.
yes,
right?
January 23rd. On the agenda that night was to approve over $200,000 that had been set aside for the development of Martin Luther King Jr. Community Center. I put it on the agenda. I saw that money was in our budget, sitting in a fund. And I know that project has been stalled, and I know that there's interest in updating the schematic design, or actually the conceptual design, so that we could actually put together a fundraising plan so that we could actually move that project forward. So I put on the agenda and it was approved and voted that to utilize that money to update the conceptual design, convene some community meetings to update that design, and then put together a fundraising plan. So I just wanted to make sure that this commission was knowledgeable about that. And I am going to be, calling up members of NERV and any other community members who would like to participate in that process of, re-envisioning the MLK Center design, because there is an existing conceptual plan that was made like almost 10 years ago now. So it kind of needs an update because some conditions have changed. And then with that, spending some time with a consultant to really look at potential funding sources, and kind of create a fundraising plan where you have due dates, and you make some boilerplate language, and you kind of put things together, and thinking that a project like this is going to take 10 years to really build out something, probably 3 to 5 years to get the kind of money you need to build it. Just the development of the actual design is a 1 to 2 year process, depending on how much money you have in hand. And so you kind of want to start the balls running if you want it to be built in this decade. So I was excited about that, because I feel like we could do some of that groundwork now and get together a fundraising plan, get it kind of teed up so that it possibly could be in a capital improvement plan project in 3 to 5 years. So just the realistic timelines. I know it sounds crazy, but that's how long it takes for these kinds of projects to move. It really is. It really does take that long. So I was excited about that. And outside of that, we're going to do a BTA tour. Yeah.
Oh, I just had a point of clarification. Can you repeat the amount that was set, the funding amount that was set aside for the community center?
I don't remember the exact amount. It was over $200,000. It was 200 and something. I can get the exact amount. I'm sorry about that. I should have come with that number. It's enough to update a conceptual design and hold some community meetings and make a fundraising plan. Not enough to get terribly far into the design process. But it's a tool. You would have then a tool to help you do the fundraising in order to keep moving down the road. And so, yeah, there's all that. And then there's going to be this BTA tour that was requested by Commissioner Torres, so we can understand the current state of Booker T. Anderson, and why we needed an additional $1 million to finish that project, which the city council allocated to the project so that it can be finished and we can get the center back accessible. And that tour is coming up. Is that tomorrow?
For clarity, that's strictly for the facilities, the building. It's not any of the rest of the park, right?
Not for the rest of the park.
Okay.
It's the
All right.
recreation
Just
center.
just
And it's
making sure I
for-
was clear on
yeah,
that.
it's for.
It's not the parking lot either, right? Okay.
Not as far as I know. As far as I know, this is particularly addressing, what were the issues that drove the need for additional funds to finish the BTA Center, and why has it taken additional time to do that. So we're going to actually just tour the site, and they'll show us what exactly happened. Yeah, and so we can bring that information back to this commission meeting and share with the broader public what we saw, and so people are well informed, and we're better informed. So I don't really know. I mean, I know kind of, but not really. I haven't seen it myself.
The security, is that part of the funding as well?
The security for the site, to the construction site, yeah. I'm not sure if that $1 million went specifically to any security costs. I imagine it probably did. I know that they were having trouble with security on site, and having trouble with the former contractor. I won't say anything more about that. But yeah, I don't have a line item breakdown of what they needed, where all the $1 million was going to. That just was the total amount that we were told they needed to finish the project. So that's kind of my updates. I know that we're wanting to continue to support Commissioner Torres and making sure that there's community input on the soccer fields and the fund for soccer. I know that is probably a really important thing because, sometimes we can lose the original intent of funding if we don't make a structure and start directing those funds to the original intent. Then other folks go, oh, there's this pot of money and we could use it for X, Y, Z. So it's really important that we create that structure and start directing those funds into the right intention. And for all the other things that people need, we can bring it and consider it for mid-year or other things. So that's the last thing I want to say is that, I'm learning about these things as a new council member, but, there's a moment in time when if there are needs in parks and recreation, funding needs, things that need to be addressed, the mid-year budget report is going to be coming up the end of February or the beginning of March. And that is a time and an opportunity. We'll have a little bit of a preview of what may or may not be a surplus that could be applied to pressing needs. So, not that we have to use it all or we have any suggestions, but it's a good thing to keep in mind is if there is a pressing need, it's a good moment to bring it up and to get your head wrapped around what exactly the ask would be. And if there's not, it's just to keep it in mind so that you know that there's this regular cycle. And so if something does come up, this is a moment to ask. In the previous mid-year, we were able to allocate funds for things like the library, that $15 million, and for other things like that. So it's a good thing to remember that, it's a moment in time where there's a possibility to move things.
Just a follow-up question. I have mixed notes, like conflicting notes. So did we get an exact amount of the ARPA funding that was going to be allocated for soccer fields and park improvements?
Yes. And I looked it up last time and then I quoted it out. I am terrible with memorizing numbers. I hate trying to, because I always say the wrong number. So I will look it up again, and I will tell you again. But there is an exact amount that was explicitly for soccer fields and then additional park improvements. And I can look it up for you.
Yeah, and it was one amount, right?
One amount.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I think I made a mistake in an email where I was like, oh, is that there? I don't know if I messed up. So,
Yeah.
yeah, a firm amount would be nice. So I
Yeah.
don't have any
And
doubt.
I'll just send you the document that was the final document that's now posted online that has those numbers, the final approved budget in there. And that's it. That's what I got. If anybody needs me to work on anything having to do with parks, just let me know.
Chair,
Okay, thank you so very, very much.
Chair, may I?
Yes.
I was just looking at the council agenda from January 23rd. There's an item, request for update on MLK Community Center development. It says direct staff to present a plan to use the remaining allocation of funds in the amount of $268,000. $268,000 to engage a consultant architect team to work with NERV and other community groups to complete a schematic update and create a fundraising plan so this project can move forward in the next 5 years. Another comment about BTA. The original contract for BTA, my understanding was to fix the fire damage. The original contract. So the contractor was hired to fix the fire damage. Along the way, we realized that that facility needed many, many, many other upgrades that were not related to fire damage, that were not covered on the insurance payment, that were not part of the original contract. So the city wanted the contractor to do a lot more work. The contractor was hired to fix the fire damage with insurance money. So that's why the staff went to council for more money to do all the other upgrades to that facility that were not related to fire. Painting, carpentry, piping, planting, windows, doors, all that other stuff that has nothing to do with the fire. Here's why. You walk into the burnt part and it's brand new, you know, platinum level facility. You cross the threshold into the old building and it's the old building from the 40s, 50s, 70s. So that's why.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I was told. It just basically looked like you were living in, two different buildings. So it's like, I'm in the 70s, I'm in 2024, and it didn't make sense. It didn't flow. And then there was a bunch of just improvements and upgrades. But, I could see it.
Yeah, it had been mentioned about that during our tour, so we understand. It makes sense to us. It's kind of like if you decide, oh, okay, I'm going to fix this one particular part of my kitchen, but the rest of it's going to stay how it was when I bought it. It's not necessarily going to flow right, mess up the energy, but okay. Thank you. Thank you for the update. She's on her way. She's saving that voice. All right. So I'll go last. Commissioner Rowden, anything you care to share with us?
I don't have any report this evening. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Blakely?
I did write something, but besides that, okay. I need to mention that a few days after the May Valley Neighborhood Council, the Neighborhood Council May Valley president had a fall and he died. Yeah, so Hala said it was after the task force meeting. She just said he fell, so I don't know whether he had a heart attack and fell, or fell because he had a stroke, or I don't know why he fell, or whether he fell and hit his head. But yeah, he did not recover.
Oh,
He
that's
died.
awful. My
Yeah,
goodness.
I
Thanks
also,
for letting us know.
one thing I didn't write on here is that I talked to my friend who plays pickleball at Bushrod Park in Oakland, and I asked her how they share the tennis courts there. And she says you have to make a reservation, if you're going to play pickleball or if you're going to play tennis. And at that park, she says they have 3 tennis courts. And so I said, so when you reserve a court for pickleball, she said, pickleball lines are painted on the first tennis court, on only one tennis court. But I don't know how they did it, but she says they have 4 pickleball courts on the one tennis court. So there's never any problem because they can use 4 pickleball courts and only use one tennis court. So other people can be playing tennis on the other courts at the same time as 4 courts of pickleball are used. So I'm kind of curious why at BTA they had a design where there are 2 pickleballs courts, one on each side of the tennis net, whereas in Bushrod in Oakland they can have 4 pickleball courts in the space of one tennis court.
Good question.
Anyway,
Allison, you also, there was more that you told me about what they said about how it worked at Bushrod that I think is interesting.
yeah, they have a locker there, and they have access to the nets and everything. They have to set them up and put them back when they're done. But that seems to be working for them. Yeah.
Interesting. All right. Oh, tables and chairs have gotten stolen, huh?
Yeah. Apparently, these things happened quite a while ago. The trees in Lemoyne Park were taken out. I guess they failed during the drought, weren't getting enough. So but they said no trees were planted to replace them, and they were interested in getting more trees. And I know the secretary of that neighborhood council is very knowledgeable about trees, so she could be a good person to consult with about that. And then, yeah, they said apparently some time ago, the tables and chairs, the kind that they can take out and set up and put away in storage and that kind of thing, were stolen from the community center, so they'd like to have those replaced. I thought those were a pretty low cost that would add a lot to their enjoyment and be able to use the center and so forth.
I have a question, Commissioner Blakely. Are these tables and chairs that they're talking about, did this belong to them or does it belong to the center?
My impression was they belong to the center.
We've ordered so
But I
many
could check.
tables and chairs almost every year, so I'm not sure what.
Really? I
Yeah.
don't know. I'll check in the next meeting though.
And I'm not sure where it was stored. Are they using, who's using this? The neighborhood council?
I don't know about this. That's all I know is what they said was they used to have adult size, not children size, but regular adult tables and chairs, the kind that you can fold up and store or take out for occasions. And they said they were stolen and they had never been replaced. That's all I know. But if you say you've been ordering them every year,
Yes, we replace our tables and chairs, and the children we serve, they sit on adult tables and, the chairs that adults sit on. So I'm not sure which.
okay, what happens to them that you have to order them every year?
I'm sorry?
You said you order them every year?
If we keep a certain number at each site because there's a capacity limit. And so at that site, the most we serve is up to 60 kids, if that's, a good number. But it has gone down since COVID. And because Valley View has also opened their own after-school program. However, during the summertime, we end up having from 45 to 50 kids, and they all sit on regular chairs, folding chairs. Because our age group starts at 6 through 12, so they can't sit on little kids' chairs. They have to sit on adult chairs.
Do you know about chairs being and tables being stolen?
I'm not aware of that. I actually had Troy, our supervisor over that site, check it out. The current staff there, she has no idea. She's fairly new. We had
Interesting.
different staff before. They're no longer working for the city, but nobody has reported anything to us.
Uh-huh. Okay. So then why do you have to order them every year?
They get broken or damaged, so then we replace them.
Oh, I get
But like I said, we keep a certain number of tables and chairs at each site because we program out of every room in that, at that center.
Question, do we do an audit of the,
Yes,
of the furniture
staff-
that's there? I mean, I would imagine, especially if there's a changing of the guards or if there's a switch in programming or something or another, it's like, okay, this is what we have to work with. In January, this is how many it was there. In May, how did we come up missing a few things? You know, it's,
Yes, the staff are supposed to do inventory, and as we get ready for summer, that's the biggest need for us. And so that's when we also determine how much funding is in our budget, and we go out and purchase tables, chairs, and other supplies at the time. And usually lasts for about a whole year, because at that site, we only do programming. It's a very small place. Nobody rents it out. So we don't expect the chairs and tables to disappear.
I can't remember who was saying that, but I'll try to find out at the next meeting.
Yeah, that would be helpful, because
Yeah.
our staff don't have any clue.
Yeah, if it was the president, though, as I said, he just died, so I may not be able to find out.
Yes, if you could please let me know when you find out.
Oh, absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
okay. So Commissioner Kaiser?
I don't have very much to say. I just want to appreciate the parks tour on Saturday for some of those of us who went. Kitte and Ranjana took us on a nice tour, and I really appreciated that. One thing that came up was Kitte mentioned that there's trees that need to come down back behind at the back of Nickel Park. And when I said, and I hope you be replacing those, he seemed a little surprised, like that wasn't in the plans. So I just want to make sure that and I guess this should go to Greg, but if we're taking trees out of parks, they need to be replaced, either, if not in the same place, then somewhere else. Like the total number of trees should be increasing, not decreasing in the city. We already are lower than the number of trees we ought to have for the size of city that we are. So I just want to make sure that the park staff is, and I know that's not Kitte's job, he's recreation, but I just want to bring that to everybody's attention, that trees removal needs to be paired with tree planting. So
I think that's part of what we were trying to address on the Climate Responsiveness Committee.
yes.
Yeah. So yeah, we are still working on the tree list for Firewise planting and just different locations and that kind of thing.
And that's all I have to say for right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Torres?
All right, I'll go quick. So February 7th, today, is National Girls and Women in Sports Day.
Yes, it is.
Billie Jean King began this holiday back in the 80s, I think. And I just want to highlight how important this is for a lot of people who don't know. Girls drop out of sports by the age of 14 twice as much as their male counterparts do. And this is further exacerbated for girls of color and non-binary, gender fluid youth as well. So I want to highlight that parks are part of the solution. Parks should be made accessible to all, and that having safe, accessible spaces like restrooms, adequate lighting, all contribute to the safety and the improved access for girls in sports. So we are doing that work, and I want to thank everyone for their continued efforts, and let's keep going. Yesterday, I finally received regarding the JPA. The spring challenges were submitted back in October, and just yesterday, I heard which allocations the Richmond soccer clubs received. I have to look at it more carefully. I've been dealing with family stuff, but I have to look at it more carefully since I just received them yesterday. It does seem like we finally got some game space. So we got some space at Tom Bates turf field, I want to say south. I don't remember which one exactly, but I'll confirm the details next time. And so I also want to clarify that these field allotments are not for, I'm affiliated with a specific club here in Richmond, Richmond United Soccer Club, but these field allotments are not for my club. They're for Richmond soccer field users. So if you're a school group or a different club and you want field allotments, please come talk to me. And I've spoken very widely about this as well, that we normally do share the field among different clubs. So that's what they're there for. They're not just for me. And I'm hoping that, when this first cycle ends of trying to do field challenging and learning the process, learning the ropes, that there can be an opportunity to make this more available to Richmond folks to use the JPA allotments. So we can talk about how that looks. I also want to make a quick comment. I did do a data request from the city of Berkeley to understand how my engagement in the JPA may or may not have affected Richmond resident counts who are being serviced at Tom Bates. So when orgs apply for field space at Tom Bates, when they submit insurance and other things, they also need to submit resident counts as per the JPA, so they know which organizations and how many residents they're serving from each group. And so I'm trying to see if my engagement, I'm hoping it does, I'm assuming it does, but right, I need the data, I need to back it up, to see if after 2022, because 2022, 2023 was the year, the last year before I got engaged with this process, to see if my engagement has actually increased the number of Richmond residents participating, and if so, through which organizations, because if there's organizations that are currently not getting enough field space there, and they have a lot of Richmond residents, we can try to find ways to include them. So I'm just starting that process, and I hope to be able to provide more comprehensive data on that. The middle school soccer league that is starting with the city program, I have some of my girls playing with that through their charter school, and they're really excited about it. They have practices at games at MLK, but the problem is they don't have a way to get from school to MLK for games and practices. And so, we just need more fields in town. You know what I mean? If they're able to find something closer to their school instead of having to, they're up in the hills. So anyways, I just wanted to make a comment about that it's just tricky. We'll get there. We'll get there. But they made a comment to me that they were pretty bummed that they miss a lot of practices because of that. Really quick, City of Richmond released a proclamation January 16th commenting about the decrease of homicide rates, and they rightfully acknowledge youth sports groups and other community organizations, including Richmond United Soccer Club and Richmond Soul, as some of the organizations that contributed towards reduction of homicides and violence in the community. And the only thing I can say is, well, duh. We do this work like I'm a volunteer, right? We all volunteer and coach these kids because we know the impact it has on their lives. So if you're interested in volunteering, it doesn't have to be my club, it doesn't have to be my sport. Please volunteer. Like, your contributions to kids, there's never a time where time spent with children is wasted. So please volunteer. It's not that difficult. I mean, people are like, oh, I love soccer, but I don't know how to coach. Well, my club does mentoring. I've mentored several coaches. Please make the effort to support our kids because they really need it. Quickly, I attended the Rotary meeting on January 26th. Finally, I made time to go to one, and it was very nice. We get invited every week, and I actually got to make it. So it was nice to hear from Gizmo, the pro pickleballer, and also attended the youth clinic that was held at the West County Salesian Youth Club. The service organization Kings of Accountability Group did a great job providing support for the kids to learn the sport. Gizmo is just so dynamic and engaging with the children, and they provided a really delicious, awesome meal and awesome environment. So major props for a wonderful event. The futsal winter league with the city is ending pretty soon. The playoffs are starting. Kudos, just great job. Like staff always nails it. They did a great job again this year. They've reached out about wanting to try a summer league, so that there's something for kids to do over the summer during non-club seasons for soccer. So I would love to continue helping with that. And I think that, last final comment. So Berg Park Playground, I was noticing that the light isn't working, but it's a solar light. Does anybody know what's up with that? Because I'm like, if it's a solar light, then it should keep working, but the playground is not lit anymore. There used to be one single light on the playground, so I'm just gonna wanna comment on that, see if there's any follow-up, and the,
Was it after several days of rainstorms? Because I mean, the solar lights may not be getting enough light if it's been several days of
Okay.
rainy grayness.
that's a
I mean,
good
so I would
comment.
just notice it after a sunny day and see,
Okay.
to see if the lights.
I will do that. All right. And the last comment is go Niners.
Chair, may I?
Go ahead.
I'm looking at the conformed resolution from the December 5th City Council meeting that was passed for ARPA funds. It's 4.2 million for soccer fields, restrooms, parks. Was that your question? 4.2 million?
That's a way different. Okay, thank you. No, I believe you.
You
I
could look
just-
up the a good source of information is the resolution that was actually passed by City Council, not the one that was presented before the council, because they made some changes during the meeting.
They
And you look
did.
at the one that was actually passed, and it's called the conformed resolution. It's available on the city clerk's website.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for confirming the number. I have been a very, very busy individual. The highlights are the MLK Day over on the Greenway. Yeah, I think I collected about 30 pounds worth of trash that was over there. Cut away quite a few of those orange fences that were supposed to help protect stuff but was causing more problems than not. Stopped along 3 different areas and helped out over there, and it was really enlivening. There were so many people there who do not live in Richmond. There were so many organizations that were coming to help out. And it felt nice, but it also made me think, okay, so maybe we need to work at getting a few more of our folk here too.
There were a lot of Richmonders there. I mean, I just kept running into people I knew over and over.
Okay, I'm not saying that there weren't any. It's just, maybe I was just on the ends where people, because I did see a lot of folk at Unity. I did see that. And there were a lot of the people who were helping to lead these groups were from Richmond. So I'm not saying that we weren't there. It's just, I was just amazed that we had people coming from Vallejo and Albany and Brentwood to come help us out. I was like, okay, well, that's nice.
And the entire men's rowing team from Cal, did you see them?
Yes,
There's
I did.
there's a lot of them.
I did. I was like, okay, this is awesome. The city was very well represented at Unity. I got a yo-yo. I haven't started using it yet. I think it lights up, doesn't it? Yeah. Okay. Good. I like yo-yos. I'm sorry. I just do. And then of course there's the usuals. I go around checking to see if the swales are working properly, especially during these rains, and over there at the city center plaza, checking to see what's going on with that, because all the rains pushing all the soil and tree litter and stuff in the way, and that can cause slipping problems. So thankfully, it doesn't stay there that long. People actually take care of that, so that's good. The big bellies, every time I turn around, I keep seeing a new one. And I said, okay, not necessarily brand new, but new to me noticing it there. So there's a lot of stuff that's going on, and it's good, because even if people are putting pea gravel in the potholes, folks are participating in the betterment of the city the best way that they know how. Next slide, please. Okay, so is there anything specific that we want to make sure we have on the next meeting? Did we come up with a date for Brown Act? I responded to the doodle.
We didn't get very many responses, but the date that was decided was the 22nd of February, but I have reached out on Monday to the city attorney's office to confirm, and I haven't heard back yet. So.
Okay, that's a Thursday, yes?
Yes.
About what time?
It was 5:30. They've accommodated till after hours.
Okay.
And I'm not sure if it's a Zoom or in person. I'm asking them for what they prefer, because it's their show that they're providing for us. So again, waiting to hear back from Shannon Moore.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. Anything on anybody's mind specifically?
Madam Chair, can I
Yes.
add two things? I would like to remind the commission to complete your Form 700. I don't know if you sent that yet. If not, wait for that email from the city clerk's office to complete that. And then from our tour from last Saturday, could you please send me your concerns so we could get those ready, and I can submit those to who needs to get it.
All right. So we have our marching orders, okay? We've got to do our homework. And the 700, okay. Got it. The Form 700 has to do with money, and if you can accept gifts of certain amounts and the like, you got to report all that, because we are serving on a city commission. And I have to deal with that because of where I work. So I'm familiar with it. Okay. Next slide. Yep.
I have an announcement. Sorry.
I'm sorry. Oh, yes.
I just wanted, it's my birthday, and I wanted to thank you all for spending these 2 hours with me for my birthday.
Today is your birthday.
It is.
Okay, here we go.
I make a motion to sing happy birthday to Commissioner
And a
Kaiser.
2 and a 3. Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday to you.
Woohoo! Happy birthday, dear Cadlin. Happy birthday to you. And with that, we are adjourned at 7:48. Thank you.